Hello world, I'm Chris Pirillo, and you've tuned in to another live edition of the Locker Gnome Daily Report, or TLDR for short. It's your live look at the tech news, and Ask Me Anything Any Day, and really Q&A. It's a whole bunch of tech talk, and you only get a part of it if you're not a patron. So you get like the one section, but I actually make 3 sections in one TLDR broadcast. So if you want even more tech talk from me, all you got to do is become a patron at chrispirillo.com. That would score you tons of bonuses, including my iPhone 6s Plus review weeks before I did this video. So you get tons of sneak peeks and tons more insight and direct communication with me. That is if you become a patron. It's easy to do. Head over to chrispirillo.com. Today, I'm going to be reviewing my... What? Yeah, those are the patrons right there. This? Oh, this is the TIE Fighter that Hasbro sent, amongst other things that I unboxed last night live on Facebook for everybody. I'll be unboxing this soon. Can I get on with my iPhone 6s Plus review? What? Oh, yeah, I forgot about this. I'm going to be unboxing the PS4 Limited Edition Darth Vader Star Wars Battlefront Special game console later today, live in the YouTube channel, youtube.com/Chris Pirillo. This is the Battlefront game console edition with tons of other Star Wars games that I never played the first time around. I've been playing Battlefront on the Xbox, but this is a part of a campaign. You can win one. Head over to chrispirillo.com for more information, or if you want, go.tagjag.com/free points. Check out those links in this video description. They're giving one away. Go.tagjag.com/free points. So don't be jealous, even when you watch the unboxing of that later. And then, of course, gameplay on it. So anybody who wants to know Xbox versus PS1, I say both. That probably upsets a few people. Not my problem. Should I move it? Yeah, I should move it. Okay, I'll get to this a little later. And move on with the matter at hand that sometimes needs 2 hands to hold on to, the iPhone 6s Plus. As many of you likely know, unless you're a drive-by viewer, I had this. I have it, obviously. It's in my hands. This was originally mine. I wanted to move from the iPhone 6 to the 6s Plus, because I figured, okay, the first generation of the phablet from Apple has been out. It's been released. They've likely worked through a lot of the bugs, a lot of the kinks. I'm going to give it a shot, if only because I was interested in 3 primary benefits of the iPhone 6s Plus, the phablet, compared to the iPhone 6 or 6s. So the 6 or the 6s is smaller. By the way, this is the iPhone 6s, which I reviewed yesterday in a separate video if you want to watch my review. Unless you don't like the way I review things, I can't help it. I love talking. That's why I'm cut out for a lot of this live video thing. So I went with this. This was mine. It's no longer mine. It's now my wife's for a lot of different reasons. I'll get to that here in a bit. So I figured I wanted to upgrade for optical image stabilization on the iSight camera. That's the camera that's facing out. So not just with video, but with stills as well. I figured I'd get better shots, clearer shots, sharper shots. Then I figured I'd want to move up to get a bigger screen, because the 6s Plus is definitely a bigger screen. It is a phablet, or a phone/tablet. Of course, compared to the iPad Pro, it's not much of a phablet. Like, it's tiny compared to the iPad Pro. Everything's tiny, including me, compared to the iPad Pro. So that was the second reason I thought I wanted to upgrade. The third reason was better battery life. You've got a bigger phone, so of course it can accommodate a larger battery, which gives you longer life. Not real life. I mean, it's not going to lengthen your life, your personal life at all, necessarily. But, if you're looking for a longer battery life, you may want to go with a bigger phone, bigger battery, longer life, theoretically. So I used it for a few days, and those days stretched into a week or so. And I realized that iOS 9.0, as it was released with the iPhone 6s Plus, was not really great. It wasn't great on the iPhone 6, and it certainly wasn't great on the iPhone 6s Plus. A lot of frame drops, the random jitters, and some people chalked it up to, Apple's going to clean it up in iOS 9.1. Oh, okay, well then I'll wait. iOS 9.1 came out, and it didn't get any better. Still a lot of dropped frames and animations, specifically in invoking the 3D touch menu. That is when you press or peek into an icon that is 3D touch enabled and then pop it, and then it pops out. A lot of dropped frames. And this was not just perceived by me, but many others. Unfortunately, a lot of the tech reviewers that you've come to trust didn't bring this up. That's bad. That's really bad, because if they're only paying attention to the hardware, they're only telling half the story. And what's the point? If this doesn't have software, what's the point? Oh, look, I can buy this piece of metal and glass, and it's awesome, and it looks great. But the software... If the software is not optimized, what's the point of good hardware? I keep saying this over and over again. I'm not going to change my tune. I'm also not going to sing for you, just in case you got worried this was going to become like one of those show tune things. It's not. It's not one of those singing reviews. Do they even do those? That'd be kind of cool. So anyway, I was using it, and I got frustrated with the performance issues. Then, I didn't really feel on a consistent basis that it felt comfortable when I wanted to use it most. Now, I have been, I guess, accustomed to smaller types of phones and being able to operate them by and large with one hand. And you can't effectively do that easily with the iPhone 6s Plus. You can't. You cannot. Wrap your mind around using it with two hands always. I mean, you can use it with one hand. I had, but it's not really built for that. So, it's not that I didn't like the iPhone 6s Plus because it was too big. Because, quite honestly, I really liked the high resolution. I really did. I did appreciate somewhat longer battery life, though I can't say that I felt the impact immediately because I was using it all the time. So, of course, I was draining the battery quicker. And the optical image stabilization, as much as Apple kind of, well, I guess they don't really tout it as like this amazing thing. Because it really isn't amazing. I mean, it's incrementally nice. No doubt about it. It's better than not having it at all. Optical image stabilization, the ability to stabilize in hardware imagery so that videos might be smoother and photos might be a little sharper with the details. But I couldn't say that I felt that it was far and away better than the classic iPhone 6, or at least the size of the iPhone 6 or 6S. It wasn't a win for me, despite, but larger resolution, bigger is better. No. Bigger is not always better. But that's what everybody says. Everybody but Chris Pirillo. Just gonna put that out there. Specs have nothing to do with it. Nothing at all. When you're talking about specs, you're not talking about the general experience of how does it feel when you're using it on a regular basis without even thinking about it. So, I couldn't take it anymore. As many of you saw in the vlog, we upload a daily vlog as well as tech videos in the classic YouTube channel, youtube.com/Chris Pirillo. I went and got the iPhone 6s. Now, this was a day after my wife, Diana, who is also a part of our vlogs. Oh, that's a good cup of coffee. You've seen her, and our daughter Jedi, naturally. She was telling me, I think I want to start video editing on the phone. I'm like, okay, well, if you're going to video edit it, you got to have a big screen. The bigger the screen, the better you are. And so it would work out well for her. This is her phone. It is absolutely her device. And you have a memory with Chris Pirillo to look back on today. Aw, oh, that is so adorable. She's got a memory with me on Facebook. Is it just me, or is our entire life out there? Everybody's lives, right? This is their primary communications device. This is their primary relationship device. It really is. I mean, just think about it. Think about how many times you probably cuddle your smartphone more than you do your significant other. It's true. I'm not passing judgment. I'm not. We're all in the same bed. Not really, because that would mean it would be a big bed. So she also uses this constantly. This is her primary computing device. And so she needs something that has a longer battery life. She's always tethered to a battery. Mophie had sent their juice pack for the iPhone 6 Plus. Sorry, I've got 4 devices tossing about in my head. iPhone 6, 6S, 6 Plus, 6S Plus. They sent an older one, the white one. So if you see that show up in the blog, she's using the Mophie sled to keep her charged throughout the day. And trust me, she uses it frequently enough. So Diana made a good use case for an iPhone 6s Plus. It really, and she'd even considered it before. She does mention every so often that she sees a lot of the things that I bring to light that are there, but she couldn't put a finer point on it. In terms of frame drops or a random jitteriness that just doesn't make any sense, or as she kind of described it, Android-esque. That's bad. So I'm still not very happy with Apple's software trajectory. I think they're dropping the ball in more ways than one. I'm not the only one who believes this. When it comes time to getting the next gen iPhone, I don't know what I'm going to do. I think I'm inclined to go with the smaller one if they have a smaller and a larger one. I'm inclined. And even though it's been suggested that the iOS 9.2 beta, the later betas, the public beta, apparently they've cleaned up a lot of the animations. Like, they've made them smooth on the iPhone 6s Plus. I'll wait and pass judgment when I see it for myself. Honestly, because a lot of people don't see the problem as it currently exists. They don't even bring it up as a problem. They don't see the difference between 60 frames per second and 30 frames per second. They don't see dropped frames. Even people who work at Apple suffer from this. I think it's suffering. I really do. I suffer from the problem of being able to see these problems. So the iOS 9.2 beta may fix problems, but when it's final, who knows? They may yank out those fixes if those were indeed fixed. But they may very well, Apple may very well be playing whack-a-mole with a lot of these performance issues with software. I outlined it very, 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 very carefully and in detail on my post on Medium the other day. There are a lot of things to like in the iPhone 6s Plus. The large screen, I adjusted to it quickly. All-day battery life, video, optical image stabilization. Landscape mode seems cleaner in software. That's another thing I noticed. It's truncated oddly, like the padding is incongruent on the iPhone 6s with any kind of, accommodation of different elements on the screen or different orientation. It looks bad on the iPhone 6s. Some people will say, what do you mean? The caret is uneven. Like, there's uneven padding around, like, the caret. Like, if you're viewing photos in landscape mode on the 6S, it's not padded properly. Like, it was done in a very sloppy fashion. Like, we need to put landscape mode on. Who cares what the resolution is? This is an iPhone. It looks way better, way more optimized on the iPhone 6s Plus than it does on the 6S. But I had to turn off landscape mode on the 6S Plus for a few reasons. Sloppiness, like in rotation back and forth, sometimes elements would not unpop themselves. Like when I was sending a photo in messages and I was in landscape mode and then I rotated to portrait, like the title bar stayed on the side and the keyboard popped up. And it was just like, layout is such a hard thing to deal with. No engineer at Apple understands how to deal with design anymore. Not a single one. And I'm not the only one to say this either. Read the article on Fast Company created by the people who developed the design guidelines for Apple, or certainly a part of that, and are suggesting that Apple's like veering completely off course with their ethos. So I had problems with rotation. I also had elements on my home screen that when I would rotate, which is nice, you can do that in landscape mode with the home screen and the icons, the transparency would do some weird thing. Like it was an artifact, like, and it was like sloppy. It looked disgusting, and I didn't like it. So I turned off landscape mode, which is frustrating because you have to turn it on when you want to watch videos in landscape mode. So I had a lot of frustrations with the iPhone 6s Plus, a lot. But the landscape mode did look cleaner when you were holding it still. It looked cleaner than the 6S. You could still use 6 Plus accessories. That was nice. We're doing that with the movie. It's still usable in certain single-handed browsing operations. So if I'm just looking and browsing like this, like flip, 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 I can use it single-handedly like that. That's not a problem. But try to do anything more than that, that's not going to happen. I would say that as far as the Taptic engine was concerned, it's cleaner. The vibrations are definitely cleaner on the... Well, that's not just with the 6S Plus, but also the 6S. A lot of things I didn't like, and many of the things that I've already pointed out. One of the things that I will also say that isn't really a spec, and this happens with Diana frequently as well, it'll fall out of your pocket easily. Even with, I have deeper-ish pockets, but, inevitably, like jacket or hoodie or whatever, you got to be careful. This thing it's big, and it will fall out of your pocket way more easily. This might... Every so often, this fell out way more frequently. And by the way, it's already been dropped on the cement a few times, and it's fine. So good on Apple. They constructed a good screen there. That's just another thing to point out. Unoptimized apps look completely horrendous on the 6S. Just like unoptimized apps are borderline horrendous on the iPad Pro. Because what happens is you've got these classic apps that were optimized for a certain screen resolution, right? And they're not adhering to Apple's guidelines. And Apple falls victim to this all the time anyway. But on a smaller screen, an app that isn't optimized for higher resolutions or the newer iPhones, you'll see that the title bar This is the telltale sign. The title bar, the text stays large. You'll notice this. One app, for example, and I love the app. This is probably one of the apps that I keep no matter what. The Star Wars app. This is a prime example. It's not yet optimized for the bigger screens, which is frustrating. It looks even worse because it's still unoptimized, but instead of being unoptimized on a smaller, larger screen, it's unoptimized on a larger screen. So it just looks blown out. And I kind of feel that way with the iPad Pro and these apps as well. Let's see if I can pull one up here. Oh no, I guess it's not installed, and Diana doesn't have the Star Wars app. Oh well, we can fix that. I can install it for her. I don't know if she's going to like that. So I found the optical image stabilization to be nice to have, but honestly, can't say that I took any better pictures than with the iPhone 6. It's nice to have the megapixel bump, as I mentioned yesterday in the iPhone 6s review, going from 8 to 12. Fantastic. You get more megapixels. I'm not going to complain. But in terms of a better quality photo, less blur, sharper shots, I didn't see it, not even in low light situations. So I can't say that it was warranted at all. Let me put it this way. Unless it changes dramatically, that's not likely going to drive me to a phablet next time. I'm probably going to stick with the smaller iPhone screen, unless they create one that's in between. Who knows what they're going to do? Who knows? No one really knows. No one knows. Some things I really attribute more to iOS, or the selling point. Two selling points for the iPhone 6s and the 6s Plus. I'm putting squarely in the category of gimmick right now. Mind you, I put Siri in the category of gimmick. This is the scenario of Siri. I ask it questions 3 times and ultimately just give up. It's easier to figure out another way to do it. Using Siri is the equivalent of trying to pick up a piece of lint on the floor with your sock or with your foot with a sock on. That's the equivalent. And you try it for 5 minutes and you realize you can just bend over and pick it up in less than 5 seconds with your fingers. Siri is using your foot with a sock on to try to pick up lint from the floor. That's Siri every single time. It's gimmick. It works part-time all the time. You can't count on it. So 3D Touch is kind of the same way. Past the performance issues, the absolute performance issues of 3D Touch taking a big hit, at least in current iOS versions that are finalized, that are out there in the public. Not beta. Can't talk about beta. The world is not using beta. At least with the iOS versions, and that iOS is the platform, the operating system that the iPhone runs on. I had problems with the animation, but the problem with the 3D Touch is it's not used anywhere, everywhere, all the time. So you'd go to use it in an app, and it's not enabled yet, so you couldn't use it. So you just forget about using it. See, that's the problem. Unless it's enabled everywhere, you'll forget about using it. Imagine if, I'll give you an example. Cut, copy, and paste was only available in the email client. That to me is how it feels with 3D Touch. You can use it on some icons, but not all. So which icons? Shrug emoji. So it's hit or miss. And even then, as I talked about in the iPhone 6s review yesterday, sometimes I tap too hard when I don't want to 3D touch something, and it starts to 3D touch something, so you have to be even more sensitive with touching the screen. I had that issue with the 6s Plus. More so, probably, because I had to use it with 2 hands. Always, in terms of that functionality. Live photos is kind of in the same category as well. Gimmicky. Neat. Useful-ish. But it could stand a lot of improvement. Then again, that's Apple software in general. It's I think that their heart's in the right place, bless their hearts, but they are screwing the pooch left and right. So that's my take on the iPhone 6s Plus. My review is I don't want to use it right now. That's my review. I don't give out stars, points. I base this on hours upon hours upon hours, if not days and weeks of using it. This is not me hating on Apple. I'm happy enough with the iPhone 6s. I am using this. Happy enough. I'm not saying I'm thrilled, because I'm not. I think iOS it's his Achilles heel. I think Apple software has a long way to go. And that's really sad. You've got a world-class piece of hardware running second-class software. I don't know what you want me to say. And it's even worse on the iPhone 6s Plus. Even worse. bad, even worse. I look at it as the least of all evils. Why don't you use something else? I do use other things all the time. But as I said, this is the least of all evils for me. That's a bad position to be in. You do not want to be listed as the least of all evils, because that was well within the category of how I felt with Windows. Well, it's the least of all evils, or it was at that time. It's the least of all evils. That's how I'm starting to feel with iOS. Not a good position to be in. Not a very good position to be in at all. I'm not saying iOS is a Windows Vista, by the way, or a Windows Me, or a Windows 8. At least not yet. So, that's what my review boils down to. Not using it, not inclined to recommend it outright, still using it, iffy on the recommendation. You could watch the iPhone 6S review separately. That video has already been uploaded and was, of course, shot live for my patrons. You can become a patron at chrisperillo.com. So you would have had all this insight weeks ago. Weeks, if not months. I can't even remember when I posted this review, but now I'm talking about it. I'm talking through the experience, the general experience I had. It's really sad. I think it's just kind of sad. I mean, this has so much promise and potential. It does. Even if you like phablets, and maybe you do. It's not for me. I can't recommend it outright, if only because of the lack of software optimization. Shrug emoji. I got no horse in this race. I love you. I care about you. I don't care what you choose to use. I don't. I don't care. I can't even come close to caring about what you choose to use. I care about you, though. I genuinely do. As a matter of fact, today, speaking of caring, one of the questions for the AMA is specifically from one of our patrons, and you might appreciate this, and this may actually convert you into becoming a patron. Hardip Tawana, he's a big follower. He wrote this through our system, and have only recently become a patron. Thank you. All the way from the UK. Desperate need for advice. I need to make a choice between getting the iPad Pro or a new MacBook. He lists out his Apple products, talking about the situation with his MacBook, and really talking through his situation, really fleshing it out for me. Great question. So I'm going to be talking through this situation. Should you get the iPad Pro or a MacBook? I'm going to be covering that now that I've wrapped up this review. If you're a patron, keep watching this video. If you're not a patron, it's kind of over for you. We'll also be covering the tech news. If you want access to all of TLDR, even more tech talk, even more banter and AMA and all the fun, wacky Chris Perillo things, you can become a patron. And by now, I assume you know how to do that. I should not make assumptions. Today's free podcast highlight was brought to you by all of my active patrons from chrisperillo.com. If you want access to the full TLDR episodes, both audio, video, past, present, and future, which can be up to an hour long or longer, with even more tech insight from me every weekday, plus other bonus content without ads, and supporting me at the same time, you can sign up to become one of my supernomies too. This is just a brief taste of what I'm producing for you daily. Again, get more through chrisperillo.com.